super simple instructions on our side.
Just for housekeeping, I'm going to mute everybody right now so we don't hear any talk. So, all right. So let's get started.
We are Chris and Steve Seeley. This is Steve Seeley, and
That's
he
me.
is an actor, director, guitar player, songwriter, cinematographer, director, and owner of Denver Film and Digital for like
IT
20 years.
Specialist.
Yeah, he was definitely our IT specialist this morning when the monitors wouldn't work.
Yeah, that was a great way to wake up this morning.
Mm-hmm.
This is Chris Seeley. Her background is as a reporter, and when I first met her, she was the first anchor woman on KNX radio in Los Angeles. And
God, that sounds like it was another century. Oh, it was another century.
Yeah. But since we've been working together for over 10 years at Denver Film and Digital, her job is working as a producer. She does all the interviews, and she does the first cut of every video we do, because her job as a reporter was very, very it taught her how to make a very complex story into something very concise. And that's something that she's a specialist at, and we're hoping that you can be a specialist too.
I pretty much spent 10 years of my life at KNX writing 40-second stories. And that was, unless it was a super complicated two-sided stories, we might get 1 minute, but any regular story we had to write would be 40 seconds long. So I am well prepared for this short form. So we are going to dig in today. This is a really fun day because we're going to talk about shooting and how to get your best way beyond selfie video shooting with your phone. And we are going to talk about editing on your phone. So there is a lot to do today, and we want to frame it in terms of your first assignment, because after today, you will have your first assignment. Your first assignment will be, and you've probably read this in the syllabus, is to
everything's okay. Let me try this again.
Okay. Your first assignment is you're going to create a single person video. Now that does not mean you as a single person will be doing everything. The single person refers to one person will be on camera. There will still be a team of you, because you're organized in teams, to work on producing the video in its entirety. So you'll work on first deciding the topic of your single person video.
And this is we're doing this as our first exercise because we know that all of us are trying to use video more as a communication tool. And this is really the power, I think, of being able to shoot with our phone. We can put out a quick communication video on our phone, edit it on our phone, and get it out quickly. And that's really an important way to keep your communication going for your department.
That's right. So we're creating the video. You are going to write it. You are going to shoot it, and you are going to edit it, and then you are going to upload it to share it with other teams, so that when we get together again in 3 weeks, you will have made this fabulous first video, uploaded it and shared it, and we can look at each other's videos, and we'll have a feedback session at the beginning of our next get together because you can learn so much from other people's videos and experiences.
Okay. So let's
we're going to check in with the teams here.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is, if this is your very first time, we would love for you to tell us your team, your location, if you have any experience with video, what you're hoping to get out of this. We also want to get a feeling for who's gotten their gear and has maybe even had a chance to play with it.
We hope everybody's had a chance to at least get it in their hands. But I want to hear where you're at with all that.
So. And we want to know how you're doing on picking a topic, because we talked about it in the first session. So Steve is going to unmute all, aren't you, Steve?
Here I am.
Here goes Steve unmuting. I guess we have to get out of PowerPoint to do that.
Okay.
So stand by for unmuting.
And where'd that go?
I have no idea. There it is, bottom left. Oh, that's our mute.
Yeah.
Well, we could probably do it person by person.
Okay. Well, I lost the controls that said unmute that Sarah gave me. But I'll go through it. I hope you don't mind if we call on you, because I'm able to actually unmute you here, I think.
Okay. So, Sarah, unmute audio.
Okay. Let's start with Barbara Ferreira.
Ferreira?
Ferreira.
Oh,
Okay.
hi. Hi, Barbara.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Hi, wait, let's see.
We're unmuted. Yeah.
We're unmuted? Okay. So yes, I'm here at Harbor UCLA with Resi Escueta, and we were on the call last week, sitting outside.
Oh, yeah.
And we're inside this week.
Yeah.
So we have all of our equipment and our software. The only thing we're missing right now is the Adobe Premiere Elements, but we should be able to load that up today or tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have it, but we just need our IT to get it over to us.
So what, have you played with anything yet?
This is Resi. I played with some of the equipment, especially the gimbal, which I thought was very fun. I just tested it out, walking around the office, going up and down the stairs, and it's very impressive. I'm really excited to film more and test it out a lot more. I also realized that in order to use more of the settings on the gimbal, we needed to download the app that comes with the gimbal. But that was free, and I haven't tested it out yet, but I will be.
Well, there are definitely parts of the app that you can have more control of the gimbal. What we're going to try to focus on is just using the gimbal just for the steadiness, and allow the camera settings all to be handled through Filmic Pro, which we find to be much more precise way to shoot. And I also want to say quickly about the Premiere. We'll be using Premiere at the end of this class. It's not a rush to get it on, but just so you know that.
Yeah, sometimes it's a rush.
Okay, that's good. But we'll load that up. So then you're saying don't download the gimbal app.
I would download it. I would play with it, but you don't have to use it. And
but we're not going to use it.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
I think you guys already had an idea for a topic last week. Was it midwives?
We were talking about that. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be checking. Are you still thinking about it?
We are, but I haven't had an opportunity to reach out to the individuals I want to.
Okay.
So I intend to do that in the next couple of days.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
I'm going to mute Barbara. I'm going to go to Crystal, and I'm going to unmute your audio. Hi, Crystal, are you there?
Hi, I am. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing well, thanks. So I'm at the Virginia State Lab, and we are sort of on a team, I guess, with the Virginia Department of Health, who invited us to participate in this. And so we're still kind of working out our team dynamics is all I can say at the moment, as far as who's going to be kind of heading it up. But we definitely have a look at the gear list that you provided. We're doing some internal things because we've also had to find out which things we can get as far as software or downloads through our information security group and things like that. And we're also looking at some of the pre-existing things we have, because when I just was looking up like mics, for example, we have one that we had bought for a digital video camera that kind of mounts on top and that kind of thing. So at DCLS, at the State Lab, we haven't gotten the gear specifically yet. We're still deciding that, but we're also just working out who's gonna get what parts, I guess, between us and VDH. So sorry, I don't have any more details on that right now.
All right. Have you thought at all about a topic for your first one?
I don't want to speak to that because I was invited at the last minute. I'm the training manager, but I'm not directly involved with the newborn screening program. So I would defer to the experts on that one.
Okay. All right.
Great.
Thanks, Crystal. Now,
Sure, thank you.
Thanks. How about Joel? Is it Joel? Joel? I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. I hate saying things wrong.
Hi, Joel.
Hi, how are you?
We're great.
It's Joelle.
Joel. Okay.
My husband's name is Joel. My name is Joelle. So,
Oh, Lord. You were here last time.
Yep. So I was here last time, and my partner Amy is on also, and so we haven't had a chance to really discuss what topic we are wanting to do, but we're thinking about something with long-term follow-up. So after the children have been diagnosed with a disorder through newborn screening, we're currently in the process of creating that program for our state. And so there hasn't been a lot of work done nationally as far as, long-term follow-up and kind of creating that program, I guess. So I think it might be helpful to kind of talk about what the steps would be for that and like how it can benefit families. So possibly something like that. I don't know if we would interview family. I mean, probably not for this video. Maybe we just kind of talk about what it is. And with your help, make it fun. So, but we really don't have any experience with doing videos. Amy and I have both done Media 101 training with our Department of Health. And we're from North Dakota. I don't think I said that. But yeah, so.
Great. Yeah. Have you been able to get any of the equipment or the things in our package?
We have not gotten the equipment. I actually just gave the list to my division director yesterday. So I know that I think the amount was like $500, almost $500 for everything. So that was one of the questions I was going to ask you guys is that like for the apps for the iPhones and stuff, do you think that Amy and I would both need the app or just on one of our phones?
You could, at the very least, you could have it on one, but you know, it's totally up to you.
That's like a $15 thing, I think.
Those are both $15 each.
Okay.
And if you need to cut corners, or if like you need to stay under 500 for the approval, whatever, you could not get Adobe Premiere right away or something like that. That's one thing I'd knock off the list.
We're really going to try to focus on this first part of our webinar about really working on your phone only, being able to shoot and edit on your phone. Later on, when we're talking about more complex projects, that's when we're going to bring in Premiere.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, madam. And now we're going to talk to the screen that says A.R. Burke. How's that, Steve?
Okay.
As soon as we unmute A.R. Burke.
This is Amy. I'm with Joyelle. I wasn't able to be on the last call.
Nice.
And so, anyways, I'm glad that I'm able to participate today, and I will have to hop off at noon my time just because I have another call that I'm on.
Okay.
But yeah, anyways, we're looking forward to this, and we're super excited to have your help.
Okay, great. All right. Then let's move on to, we haven't talked to Emily, I bet.
Yeah.
Emily.
Hi, Emily, are you there?
Hey, yep, it's Emily. I'm actually part of the Virginia team, so Crystal Barrett was able to elaborate on our statuses for the equipment.
Okay.
The individual that I think we're going to be working with, part of our team is our follow-up team, and we haven't had a chance to reach out to them for a focus. That individual is just currently on an extended leave, so trying to find a contact so that we can try to narrow down a topic. There's several things I think that have of interest for them. And I don't know, I serve as a data and IT support group here at DCLS, and so I work collaboratively with all the laboratories here and serve as a liaison for our LIMS management and various different programs, and help assist with our website management.
Okay, great. Thanks, Emily. Good luck getting everybody on the same page.
On the gear. I'm sorry, you're with.
There's trying to get it.
Okay.
Great. Okay, thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Emily.
Now we see a screen that says T. Bishop, and we are trying to find a way to. T. Bishop, can you speak to us?
Can you? We can also see you chat if you're there.
Okay. All right.
Then
we're not going to do that right this second. We will move on to the one that's identified as a 510 phone number.
Hi, are you there? This is it. Your phone number is 510-412-6213.
Yes, this is Tracy. Hi.
Hi. Where are you from, Tracy?
Hi, I'm good. I'm with the California Department of Public Health. We're in Richmond. And the other members of my team aren't here, it looks like. Jorge's on vacation, and I don't see that Robin's logged in. I'm peripherally associated with this. I'm the chief of the group. And I know we have equipment. I know we have had some software downloaded, and I believe we've come up with the topic. A collection about newborn screening collection.
Okay.
So we've started at least.
That's great.
Well, that's awesome. And just so everybody knows that these programs are being recorded, so any of your team members who haven't had a chance to look at and see what we're trying to teach, please have them look at the video. And we'll also be sending out a tip sheet, which is today where it's a little bit more technical. We're going step by step through the actual shooting and editing parts. So these are all things that will be resources for your team to.
I'm old school.
Catch up.
I like to see them in writing too. Okay.
Great.
All right. Thanks. Good to talk
I'm
to
going
you.
to mute you. And so
Then we have R. Thomas.
hi, R. Thomas, you there?
R. Thomas. Okay. Maybe this person had to step away for a second. So
Okay.
let's dive in.
Oh,
Okay.
are we diving?
We're diving right
Okay,
now.
let's dive.
Okay. That means page 2. So we are going to talk about getting ready, and we're going to do a section on both sides of the camera. And we're going to start with the fun part, which is, you want to learn how to shoot. So we're going to start from behind the camera and talk about the really fun elements that can get you from selfie video to really top-notch video. So one of the first things that you need to consider, oh wait, I don't think we need this screen. I think we've essentially done that one, okay? We did that one. So one of the first things you want to consider is, where are you going to show your video? Where is this destined? And the reason we ask that is because things have changed. You don't shoot the same size of video or the same shape of video for every single thing.
Remember, we as videographers, we've always encouraged people to use their phones where it's oriented this way. The picture is oriented the same way you see it on your screen for the Zoom meeting. That's the way it's been shown for a long time. So if you're doing a presentation that you're using the video to include it in the PowerPoint, into YouTube or Vimeo or LinkedIn, anything like that, you'll be shooting it with a widescreen. It's a landscape. It's called 16:9. That's the aspect ratio of this phone.
Then, and this has been a hard sell for us, but we have to admit that it's happening now more and more. If you're going to shoot and put it probably only on Facebook or only on Instagram, then with great trepidation, I say you need to shoot vertical.
But when you really think about it, the reason to do that is really important. If you're aiming to post your video on Facebook, there's 100 things that go through that feed, but the ones that stand out are the ones that take up the most real estate. If you shoot it this way, it takes up the whole window on your feed. If you shoot it this way, it ends up being like a quarter of the size of the screen. So if you want your stories to be seen on Facebook or Instagram, shoot it this way.
Okay, so that's one thing to decide as you're going on. Now you're going to get your stuff together for the shoot.
Okay, so we're jumping ahead now. We're saying that you've gotten your topic, you've written some sort of script, and we're going to talk more about all of this sort of stuff. You've chosen a location. We're going to talk about that too. You have all your gear. That's important. You've got your microphone. You've got the little cord that you're going to need. You got a tripod. You got a little clip to put your phone on, and you've downloaded the app Filmic Pro, and you might even be playing with your gimbal. So these are all things that you need to pull together before we do this. But
instead of just talking about it, and we are video people after all, we made a short video that illustrates the kinds of things that you will do to choose a location and get things set up. We use this is my pal Dia. We do crafts together, and she has a stained glass business, and we did a video for her. So anyway, she's our example in here.
Top-notch videos start with a hyper-awareness of what not to do. Many phone videos are ruined by the same mistakes. They shoot in a noisy environment and they become unlistenable. and visual interests coincide. Take our friend Dia, for instance. She's looking to create a video for a stained glass business. Stand by here. Technical difficulties. We'll give me a second. We also we saw in the chat that we missed Tennessee. We'll get to you in a second. So let me go to share. Aha, yeah.
Oh,
they hide a little button on this Zoom thing that unless you click it. But here we go. So this is our movie again. Hopefully this works. Top-notch videos start with a hyper-awareness of what not to do. Many phone videos are ruined by the same mistakes. They shoot in a noisy environment and they become unlistenable. They shoot in bad lighting and the subject is either too close or too far away. And finally, either you or your subject are wearing something that's uncomplimentary or distracting. But our top-notch approach can eliminate many common problems by simply increasing your awareness. Consider first your location, where you're going to shoot. Now, you may be thinking about shooting your video in an office or someplace at your work. But think first, does this location help me tell my story? Or is it just another nondescript background that's simply convenient? It's always best when convenience and visual interest coincide. Take our friend Dia, for instance. She's looking to create a video for a stained glass business. Her first thought was to shoot her video at the table where she does much of her work. That's certainly convenient, but there are a couple of problems with this location. First, strong lighting from outside is good to help you design, but it actually presents a real problem for the camera, not to mention the noise from outside. Her second choice seems like a much better one. Her work desk in her basement is definitely interesting, and that window there gives her some nice natural light. Imagine where you might shoot. Now, in a location where there are no windows, take some time to scout your location within that room to get your top-notch awareness going. Now, notice how the overhead lighting falls. In some places in that room, it's better than others. Remember, we're always keeping in mind that we want where we shoot to say something about who we are. Now, if your best location has windows, consider how you might make them work for you rather than against you. Natural light through a nearby window is a great start, but a problem sometimes if you wear glasses. But notice how moving the camera just a little bit makes these reflections go away. Now, Dia has set up a tripod where she has visualized the best shot for her video. Avoid an angle that looks up at you or down at you. Eye level is the most flattering. Do your best to level the tripod and then clip in your camera. Next, set up your microphone. Our recommended production package has a nice lavalier mic and an extension wire. This end goes into the earphone plug on your phone. Your phone may require some kind of an adapter, and you'll end up with something that looks like this. You can try to hide your mic by clipping it inside your shirt, like this. Figure out 8 to 12 inches from your mouth. You might even try to hide it in a neck scarf, like this, or simply clip it neatly onto your top. I think it's perfectly acceptable to have a mic showing. A messy cable, however, is not so acceptable. Now, you'll need to make several test recordings to make sure your framing looks good, your focus and exposure are correct, and the audio is clear. As you can see, there are always adjustments to lock your exposure and focus with Filmic Pro. And then the fun begins. Be patient with yourself. This is sometimes a very frustrating process, but it really helps if you know what you're going to say and that you've rehearsed it beforehand, way before the camera rolls.
Thanks for shopping.
Yes.
Okay. Our friend, we need to unmute or do the start video. So we're there.
Hi.
Okay, so we know there are lots of questions, and we know that was a lot at once. But before we go on and give you a little more detail on some of those things, we hate that we skipped somebody. So Tennessee.
I just unmuted you. Can you hear me?
Hit unmute.
I did.
I know.
Hi, it's Tennessee. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hi, it's Hillary Fryman and Jamie Clark with Tennessee.
Hi.
Hi there. So an update on where we are. We've gotten all of our gear. We actually shot about a little over a minute video and did some editing because we thought we were going to share some. But we are going to focus on prenatal education for newborn screening. As I'm the nurse educator for our department, and that's been one of my pushes, is to get more information to prenatal classes and to OBGYN offices.
That's great. That's
Great.
the perfect subject matter for this kind of medium.
Sounds terrific. And have you had any issues with the equipment or any of the apps? How's that working for you?
It was pretty, the KindMaster Pro was pretty intuitive. There were a couple things, but Jamie and I played with it. We've probably spent about 4 hours to make our little over a minute video.
Right.
Oh, great.
And really,
From writing.
that's kind of not too bad for the first time.
Shooting, editing, yes.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Well, so we'll have an opportunity for you to share the video of the group. Part of our class and being able to share all of our work together. We first need everyone to get a subscription to Vimeo, which is a streaming service, which is more of a professional version of YouTube. But it's a free service. Everybody can sign on and get a free service. And that way you'll be able to upload your video to your Vimeo account. And from there, we will send an invitation for the group that we'll all be able to get together and see all of our videos together. So just know that that's coming your way. Does that work for you in Tennessee, getting your video seen?
Yeah, that was that I had was trying to play with uploads and trying to email, and I ended up uploading it to my Google Drive and emailing it to myself because I was I'm not sure how I'm supposed to share the video, so that's perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'll go to Vimeo. You'll like it. It's a good streaming service, and everybody can easily view it.
Great. All
Okay,
right.
awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mute you again. Thank you.
Okay. So let's go back to this whole shooting thing. It was a lovely video you made, Steve.
Thank you.
But it went by in 7 minutes, and we need to process some of this a little bit more. We also need to figure out where the heck we are on our PowerPoint, and we're going to do that in just a second because we saw, look, that's exactly where we are supposed to be.
Well, it's
Excellent.
nice when that happens.
Excellent work. Okay, location. I'm talking about location. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So here's some things to consider. First of all, you need to have a room that has room to move around.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to get stuck in a corner because the last thing you want to do is have somebody really kind of up against the wall and not have room.
Or to be in the way of other people in your office. So just find a location that you can shoot comfortably and work. Now here's a problem that comes up a lot, in that the only place you can shoot is noisy. And so sound is always a consideration. If you can, shoot in a good, quiet room. But one of our important things that we keep harping on is we want your location, wherever you're shooting, to help tell the story. So if the best way to tell that story is in a location with a little noise, that's okay. But here's a tip. Always try to, if there's some place where there's apparent noise, like people talking in the background or just basic office sound, be sure to put that in the back of the person who's talking, so the viewer can actually see where that noise is coming from. Here's a great
just
way
for
to
a
think.
few seconds.
Yeah. Well, I would put them there from the whole time, so you can see what's going on. So here's the way I think about it. Think if you were shooting an interview in Niagara Falls, for instance, and you shot the person that was talking, and so they didn't see the falls behind them. You would just hear this roar, and it would be distracting at best. But if you were to turn around and actually see Niagara Falls behind them and hear that sound, it justifies the sound. And it's the same way with what we're doing. So if you have a noisy location, put them in the back behind you so the viewer can actually see what's going on.
An easy tip, if you're in an office, for example, or wherever that has a door, post a sign on the door that says, "Quiet, please, video in progress." It'll make you be cool too.
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, we need the cool factor. We need a room, and we want to talk about conference rooms.
Oh, so it's really tempting, and it's happened to us many times where we say we need a good location and we want something that's going to tell the story, but the only place that they can come up with is a conference room. and usually
Boring.
they're very bland environments. So if you have to shoot there, no problem. Go ahead and do it. Just don't put people up against the wall. That always looks like a mugshot to me, like from the lineup at prison. So bring them away from the wall. And if there's anything interesting there's a picture or anything interesting in the background, go ahead.
Sometimes we'll bring a plant in if it's just boring as can be. We'll put a plant in. It'll be off next to the person, not right behind the person, because you don't want leaves growing out of their head. So
no, that's bad.
And also, if you're shooting in an office, if that's more interesting, take a look at your desk and how cluttered it is. People don't have to think you're crazy and have nothing on your desk, but just take a look to make sure it's not uber cluttered. And we've had several clients take the pictures of their kids off so that they don't show up on the screen.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about setting up. Now, we've talked about that idea of being aware of the lighting wherever your location. If there's a room with a window where there's daylight coming in, it's a good idea to use that daylight and shoot with the window to your back so that the person is talking into the light. That's one thing. But basically, here's the sort of bottom line. Always make sure that take a moment to look critically at that picture on your phone and be able to say, now evaluate, is the light that I have falling on that person's face, is that causing shadows over their eyes? Is that the most flattering angle for them? Is my focus right? Is my exposure right? These are all things that you'll always check after you roll a little bit and go back and check it. But that's the basic thing. Just sort of have a moment of critical discernment when you look at this sort of stuff. Don't put them up against the wall.
Yeah, in fact, there have been so many times where we pull a chair out into the middle of the room, and maybe their desk then ends up being behind them, because you don't want to have that flat look up against the wall.
And we're kind of beating a dead horse, but make the background be part of the story. Kind of like the shot that you're seeing of us. We could have shot this in the studio, but we feel that this background is more interesting and really tells more about who we really are. We're messy. Yeah, that's basically it.
We're list people.
So let's talk about the placement of camera. Now, as you saw in the video, having the camera at eye level is the most flattering view of a person's face, and it's easy to when you set up the camera that you put it up too high, and so the person is looking up, and that's not as bad as the alternative, because actually the camera that you're looking at us from, we're actually kind of looking up because it's on top of my monitor. That's better than this alternative.
This is the worst thing known to, well, women. And I'm sure men are, because the focus, if you've ever put your hand on your neck and said, oh my God, I wish this was different, you're absolutely want to be eye level shooting, because if it's coming from below, you are not going to be happy with yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the different sizes of shots that you'll be getting. What you see here is what we refer to as a full shot, head to toe shot, and that's great for if you were to shoot an interview or 1 minute presentation with just this, I would say you're too far away. So I would get in closer. But this size shot is useful in your B-roll. Make sure that you have room at the top and the bottom and see their feet and some room at their head. So this is what we'd call our medium close-up. And this is, although I think this is a good way to start, I'm going to advocate for having a closer shot as well. But one thing I want you to notice on this kind of framing, the person is not dead center in the frame. It used to be that we had these kind of squarish TVs, and the person can be closer to the center. But it's much more interesting with the aspect ratio that we're shooting in, the 16:9, that we have them slightly off center, and so something.
Yes, nice medium shot like that.
Yeah. Now, this is what we would call a close-up or medium close-up. This is very chest high type of close-up. Again, taken definitely off center. Now, this shot can be used very sparingly, but an extreme close-up can show deep emotion. If that's something that you want to experiment with, that's possible. But most of the time, it's just too intense for this kind of video. And let's go back to our regular shot. I want to talk about a thing that's called headroom. And if you start bring your awareness to when you're watching TV or watching the news, you notice that there's a certain aesthetic to how they frame people. There's usually a space between the top of the person's head and the edge of the frame. That's called headroom. So this is kind of the proper headroom that we're used to watching on TV. It's you don't want it so that you're cutting off the top of the head, or they feel too close. They get too close to the top of the frame because it starts to feel claustrophobic. And on the other hand,
I hate this shot.
You don't want it with a lot of headroom. You may remember there's a commercial on TV where they shoot everybody down in the corner, and it's kind of a different style. But generally, that's not at all what you want to do. So let's go back to
this is the Goldilocks shot, right?
Yeah,
this is just right.
Yeah, this is good in the middle. Now let's talk a second about your sound. When you hook up your microphone, because your phone will be without the microphone plugged in, it'll be picking up audio. And if you plug it in, you should be picking up audio from your microphone that you plug in. But it's hard to tell if you were just to say testing 1 2 3. It would register as if you're talking, and you don't know for sure whether it's coming from your microphone or from the actual sound on your phone. So
this is the one drawback of shooting with your phone. You can't put headphones in generally,
right.
So you can't hear
it. But this is a little test. If you blow on it, and you'll see in Filmic Pro down at the bottom there's a little line which registers the audio.
You'll see it move.
You'll see it move. So be sure to blow into it to make sure that's actually getting the audio from the microphone. And finally, this is the screen that you'll get from Filmic Pro. That little circle down at the bottom right is your record button. I don't know how many times I've done it, but it's no fun. I thought I pushed it. I put my finger on it, but for some reason it didn't register it.
Yeah.
So always make sure that has turned red, and that the time code down in the bottom center, now it says 00000. Make sure that those are rolling.
And that sound bar is right under where the 0 time code is right now. That green, when you blow on the mic, I'm just going back a slide, it'll move. The green will move, and you'll know when you blow on the mic. You may have learned you never blow on a mic, but these mics will take it.
And one final thing. Always check to make sure you're make a shot first and run it for 10-15 seconds. Make sure that everything is recording correctly. And the way that you play that back, you see below that that arrow on the screen, there's like a YouTube forward playing arrow there. That's the play button. So just play it back and make sure that it's everything's okay.
Okay, so that's a lot of stuff we just said. So we thought we should open it up for questions, and we're going to go to there's the participant thing. And if you have would you chat and tell us if you have a question? That way we know who to unmute so that a person can ask a question. If you have any questions about how to handle production, we thought it would be a good idea to leave some time for that.
Okay, Joelle.
Joelle, where are you?
Okay.
It's a long list of people. There she is. Joelle.
Oh, hold on a second. I'm hitting it.
He's hitting unmute.
Oh, there you go. Hi.
Hi. So if we wanted to do to shoot maybe multiple environments, like maybe doing inside of a home or something, because if we're thinking about our video to go out to families, so would it be appropriate to do multiple locations? Like I know it's going to be a quick video, but could you do maybe on a couch and something like interviewing somebody? Like in the background, and then also maybe in an office, somebody completing an application or writing down. Because I know, like in the previous video, you showed up close shots of like different things, like them working on things. Is that
exactly right?
Okay.
That's exactly right.
And then did you say something about outside? Because is it better to not do any outdoor?
No, I think outdoor is perfectly appropriate.
Oh, it is. Okay.
I
thought you said something about the lighting, depending on.
There are some challenges to lighting. Many times, if you have the person that you're shooting, if you have them facing the sun, it becomes very squinty.
Yep.
It's hard to look into the sun. But there's a cameraman trick that I use all the time. Is I turn them around so the light's coming from the back, and I either bring a small reflector which just bounces some sunlight into their face. Or here's something that you can always do. If you're close to a building and there's enough light bouncing off the building, that'll work to illuminate their face as well.
You can take one of those giant Post-it board things that you use in meetings and stuff, and it serves as a reflector, reflects a little light on the person's face.
Yeah.
The other thing to think about shooting outside is noise, traffic noise, barking dogs.
Yeah.
People at FAC on Friday afternoon, whatever. So you want to make sure you're not in a super noisy place.
Okay.
Thanks, Joel. I'm going to mute you. Okay, do we have any other questions? Chat now or forever hold your peace.
Or hold them till later.
Okay.
Okay. Then
we're going to move on.
This is Steve's favorite part about Zoom is the little bell that rings. Okay, so now we're going to talk about 1 minute. 1 minute, are you out of your mind? There are tricks to writing a 1 minute piece. And the state of using social media today, especially quick informational advocacy pieces like this, is you need to do it in a really concise manner. So there are some tricks. You may have given a million presentations at a conference, but this is a different animal to do 1 minute. And the reason that it's different is that you have to be able to grab attention quickly, make your points concisely, do a call to action, and do that in 60 seconds. Well, maybe we won't be crazy.
Okay, now we're saying we want to make 1 minute. We're not shooting for TV where it has to be exact, but there's a certain discipline that we want to experiment with here about being able to write and shoot a concise 60 seconds, another 10 minutes, 10 seconds longer, that's okay, or 10 seconds shorter, that's okay. But let's all try to shoot for that sort of length. And let's think about how that might break down. So the first 10 seconds of that 60 seconds is basically your attention grabber. Somehow, especially in the social media world that we live in today, people live with their finger on the mouse. We're ready. If you don't grab us, we're on to the next thing. So make sure that your opening statement, that first 10 seconds, are clear, compelling, interesting, and that hold your attention and make you want to listen to the next 30, 40, 50 seconds. So the body of your piece would be then 30 or 40 seconds of you developing your ideas and making your case, whatever it is. The final 10 seconds is your conclusion, which is basically a call to action. And you may have heard people talk about this before, but it's basically they tell you what you're going to tell them, what you're going to tell them, tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So you just do a brief recap after that.
Okay. So part one is, again, and we've mentioned this before, is deciding on your story. So you need to have a goal in mind. You need to know your intention for this video. You need to know who your audience is going to be. And then you need to keep these sorts of things in your head as you're writing your piece. You want clarity so that the viewer has a chance of getting clarity. There's a goofy old quote from a person from a speaker's. It says, when it's foggy in the pulpit, it's cloudy in the pews. You need to start from a point of you really know what you're doing.
So you may notice that this is a really important part of your making your video. It's very tempting to have a kind of an idea about what you're going to shoot, and then you're going to go out and wing it. We've done it. We've all done it. But we're saying that the way that you really focus your video and able to communicate the most clear is if you really spend the time going through these steps and deciding what your story is.
I believe you have an example.
Well, I do. Thinking about that idea of what your goal is, what's the intention of the video, and who your audience is. I think I spoke last week about this idea of a tightrope. That's the tightrope that we need to stay on all the way through the video. So the clearer you are on what your intention, the better. For instance, let's say you want to do a video about newborn screening for midwives.
Yeah, Harbor, listen up.
Yeah, for home births. So your audience, who's your audience? It's midwives. So you know that there's some reluctance out there to this thing. And your intention is that you want to persuade them that newborn screening for midwives is the model of care is the same as their shared decision making. So that's your intention. So keep that goal in mind while shaping your message.
Okay, let's go into the 3 parts briefly. An introduction, as we said, it needs to keep your attention. Not keep it, grab it. And so you might start with an eye-opening statistic. There's one that I just picked up which said, where did that go? It's on the next page. You probably have your own. Every year, more than 5,000 babies in this country are born with one of the conditions tested for in newborn screening. It's just an eye-opening statistic. Another possibility is to make a bold or provocative statement at the beginning of your piece. Maybe you're telling the story. Maybe you have a midwife who's going to tell the story and says something at the beginning like, my practice wasn't really consistently doing screening, but after I had a baby that tested positive, and it was retesting and diagnosis and then treatment to keep that baby from having long-term problems, my entire practice changed the way it looked at screening again, and we all do it now. Mm-hmm. So a provocative statement that grabs the attention. A provocative question will serve the same kind of purpose. You don't want to ask a question that is answered by yes or no, because when you ask a question, they say no, the natural viewer is to just turn off to the rest of the message. But a provocative question like, what do you think the biggest objection from midwives is about newborn screening at home? So you ask a question to grab their attention.
And so now we're into the body of your video, that 30 or 40 seconds. And one thing to think about is that you're looking to make one or two memorable points that a person, after they watch your video, they're able to walk away with, and they'll say, oh yeah, that's what that was about. If you can really focus on and are successful in getting those 2 points, you're golden. Chris was talking about how she used to write papers and research things in school. And basically you want to start in this body section with writing a basic headline topic. You know, what's this
topic sentence?
Now, let's say that you're going to be writing you're going to do a video about the timeliness of courier service on Saturdays, for instance. So you really, in this story, you have just mainly one point, and that is timeliness is crucial. Now, you might offer a science-based information that, for instance, a baby can look perfectly normal at birth, but can be seriously ill or worse if the lab doesn't get the screening results quickly. And you can also back that up by saying there's evidence here that by the family, it needs to get it quickly. Maybe there's a story of a Thursday birth and a Friday screen, and then no pickup until Monday, and the results are not until Tuesday, and that by that time the baby is already in danger or even worse. And on the other hand, you could offer an example of a baby who got timely results and then got treatment and their life was saved.
Examples are your friend if you can personalize the story, the point you're trying to make, humanize the point that you're trying to make. It's like a tiny little story within is an example, and one of my favorite things to do to flesh out a point that I'm going to make. Then you have the conclusion. Now, most of the time, this is where you, in a longer speech, you would kind of regurgitate, summarize what you'd said in the speech. In a minute, you might want to just hit it one sentence again, but more than likely, in an advocacy piece, in an education piece, you may want to have a call to action. So one of the call to actions to our examples could be, we hope you're willing to be part of a larger conversation about midwives and newborn screening at our next conference. Or you might say, this is a matter of life and death. We hope you'll sign our online petition so we can get this in front of the Health and Welfare Committee at the legislature. You know, a specific thing that they can do. and feel like they're part of things.
Okay, so we've been throwing a lot at you, but here's one more thing that I want you to consider. As you're writing your story, I want you to think about visuals. What we had an example earlier today. You're thinking about things that you can cut to show over this. Visuals are really what separate video from just plain a written paragraph or two. This is the power of video, being able to show and illustrate what you're talking about. So let's talk about the different kind of visuals that you might be able to use. Of course, there's pictures. If you have still pictures, all the better. And this is kind of a good habit to get into, thinking that whenever you have an opportunity, something's happening in your office, pull out your camera, take a few snaps. You'll be able to use them later on. I guarantee that you'll find that useful. And if you don't have pictures of your own, there are places where you can get free photos, like the Creative Commons, which has royalty-free pictures. There's also places that have stock photos. The Creative Commons is great for historical photos and that sort of thing. The next is
graphics. You have, if you're using one of those eye-opening statistics and you want to develop something about the statistics to make a dramatic point, a chart, a graph. You see on that it says text CG. That means
character generated.
Character generation.
Basically the text that you have on your.
What you're seeing right now on the screen is CG. And then finally there's B-roll, which is actual video pictures to illustrate what you're talking about.
And that's a great thing for the gimbal. You'll love being able to use this to be able to capture the story that you're trying to tell. But realize that you don't always have to have your video or something that you shot. Maybe there's existing videos that you can have easily access to. I know 360 NewSTEPs has videos that I'm sure that if you needed it, you would be able to have access to some of the videos that we've done. But there are a lot of different possibilities out there. So
one of the things you might not think you have a super visual topic or a super glamorous topic, but if you're talking, look at news stories. See how often you see B-roll of someone just walking down the sidewalk. I mean, you have to be kind of creative to show, to get out of the talking head mode. Sitting at the desk, being on the phone, talking to a client, talking to a colleague. And these are very simple, everyday kinds of things that you can film that you can use as B-roll.
We have a question here from Emily. Hold on, Emily, let me unmute you. Okay, hi, Emily, did you have a question?
Hey, yes, actually, I tried to chime in for the last one when you guys were talking about positioning and what's the best way. Is there really any general guidelines about how to best position the person or kind of cues to kind of go off on height? I know sometimes I know eye level is great, but just positions or stature of just trying to get the kind of the best look. I don't know if there's like just general advice.
Having it at the same level as the person's face is the best rule of thumb.
I wonder if you also might be asking about, should the person be sitting or standing?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Just kind of using height and visualization. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Well, often people are more relaxed when they're seated, but many times I think that like if I'm shooting an executive or somebody at that level of the room, things aren't as interesting. The tables are flat, but I find that if
I'm sorry,
like a seating. If they're seated, so a lot of times I'll shoot an executive. I'll have them sit on the edge of their desk, so behind them I'm able to see artwork, which wouldn't be visible if they were sitting behind the desk. But seating is often the most relaxed position that people can be in. If you're on the run, if you're doing kind of quick interviews, you might want to do it standing up, and that's helpful because you're able to move quicker.
A lot of people also find they have more energy when they're standing. I knew when we're performing, we do music too, but I would rather stand than sit. Talk to your person about how they want to do it.
Ask them, how do you feel? Again, I think you brought up a great question here, Emily. that's again visualizing how your background and their interview best tells your story. Consider, does it look good if you actually sit down there and look at from where they're seated and in the background? If that looks great, then I would go with that. If it feels like it's better to stand up, have them sit on the edge of the desk, whatever. Those are all things that help you really visualize the best way to shoot it.
Great, thanks.
Okay,
You're
thank you.
certainly welcome.
Sorry, we'll try to be better seeing our things here.
And do we have any other, we still have some other things to talk about delivery. So chat in if you have questions, and I swear I'll remember to look over to the chat and see that.
Okay. So talking about some of these pictures that you have, make sure that they're of a proper resolution. One visual that I think people often forget to get onto their phone so that they can edit is the logo from your organization. Make sure that you can bring it into your phone, email it to your phone, download it to your pictures so that you have a logo that's in the proper a higher resolution.
What format's good?
Well, JPEG or PNG. But what happens a lot of times, I ask people for a logo, and they'll find me the logo that they had at the bottom of their stationery, which is really small.
Signature on email.
And it becomes fuzzy. So you want to ask somebody, I want a high resolution copy of your logo.
Okay. Now there's another part to being in front of the camera.
Okay, thank you, Anne.
Thanks. See you later. No, it's Amy, I think.
Amy.
Okay. There's another part of being in front of the camera, and I got that bell, so I don't know what to do when you get the bell.
I usually just hit this thing and it works.
Okay, and that's nerves. Yeah, we know that getting up in front of a crowd of 500 isn't always everybody's favorite thing to do. This is very different, being in front of a camera, but there are still...
It's even worse, I think, for a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for them to get in front of a camera.
You'll talk to a lot of people who say, I don't do on camera. Well, you're going to do on camera. And you may think that this first answer to nerves is too easy, but it really makes sense. And that is to practice what you're going to do. You take your script that you've written, maybe it's word for word, maybe it's bullet points, maybe it's an outline, and you practice that puppy. You close the door to your office, or you go to the basement, or you do whatever you need to do, and you read it or say it out loud half a dozen times, minimum. Once is not enough. You want to get a feel for the flow of the language. Is the flow of the language working for you? Have you unintentionally put in a phrase that's really hard to pronounce, too many S's or something, and practice it to get a feel for it so you can be more fluent on camera.
Now, if you have a very complicated piece and you're working from bullet points, you might consider using a cheat sheet. Yeah. It's basically, this is something that you could write in big enough font that you could tape under the camera when you're working, doing your part, and all you need to do is be able to glance down, see what it is, and then glance back to keep your gaze back to the camera. And when you're practicing it, practice with that sheet so you're used to it. Take that sheet and tape it up on the wall or on your desk 5-6 feet away, and get used to being able to just take a quick glance down, get your bullet point, and then back to the camera.
Just knowing that that's there and having practice with it should reduce your nerves some, because just the thought of just starting and saying, I'm going to do this whole 1 minute and one take with no mistakes perfectly and flawlessly, this is not an easy and happy thing for your nervous system or your head. So you practice with a cheat sheet, and that is going to help you more than you can imagine right now.
But there are people like, who are able to they're going to nail it. I know some of you are going to nail it. Probably some of you already have been able to really just get up and do it. That's my hat's off to you. I'm not one of those people, and it takes me a few times to warm up to being able to present the message that I want to present. Here's the thing. Give yourself a break. This is a difficult thing to do. It's nerve-wracking. I know if you're like me, you're in the middle of this presentation and you make a mistake, I'm apologizing all over the place. Please, I'm so sorry. I'm so dumb. I do all this. So that's normal. But there are ways to take it easy on yourself and make it easier to do. And what we suggest, if you're really having a hard time being able to deliver your presentation, chop it up into paragraphs.
We have called this, we have deemed this.
This is a scientific thing.
The chunk method.
We use this chunk methods in editing too. So
that's right.
Yeah, we should patent that. Right?
It's probably good. We'll make a lot of money.
Okay, so basically, what you're going to do is just take a paragraph at a time. And you're going to keep doing it until you nail it. And this takes a lot of pressure, and it's easier to keep like 2 or 3 sentences in RAM memory and able to bring them back than a whole page of it. So break it up into paragraphs. Now you may be thinking, okay, but if I do that, then I'm probably going to, when I edit it together, it's going to be a jump cut because I finish this sentence and my head's like this, and then I do it 3 more, the next paragraph, and I finally nail it, and my head's like this. So how's that going to edit together? Okay, have no fear. We actually have 4.
4, count them.
We've upgraded. We had 3 earlier. Yeah. Well, so first of all, if your camera, your phone shoots on 4K, you have a hand up because 4K. The beauty of it is that 4K is actually 4 times the resolution of normal HD video, and will be when you distribute your video, you'll be distributing it on HD. And so picture that. That's that much of that frame. Now 4K is actually this much frame. Well, I can't see it.
Pixels.
Yeah, resolution. Yeah. So basically, on a 4K in editing, you can enlarge so that you enlarge in that picture, and it won't degrade the image. It used to be on the old kind of video that we have, if you were to blow it up at all, it would get all grainy and icky. But on 4K, it's not a problem.
Grainy and icky is a technical term.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take a shot at this because I'm not quite the editor that you are. So what you do is you shoot it on 4K, and then when you're editing, you get your first paragraph and it's in. And then you get your second paragraph and you don't want to jump cut. So in editing, you can expand the picture just like you do a picture or a photograph on your phone.
Right.
And do that whole paragraph closer. And then you go back to the original size for your next point. And then when you change shot sizes in editing, there's no longer a jump cut that's glaring and throws you off.
Okay, that's exactly right.
That's point 1.
Okay, the second way is if you're not able to shoot 4K, is basically vary the shot by moving the camera. It's a basic thing that we were talking about for 4K. You'll have a wider shot, which is your opening shot in the introduction. But to get closer, you simply move the camera closer to your subject, like 3 or 4 feet. And you have more of a close-up that you'll be able to shoot, and those will cut better together. Here's a couple of things to think about. When you move the camera, make sure that you in Filmic Pro that your focus, you have to refocus on the person, and that focus is the little square in that app, and so refocus, but make sure you don't change the exposure. Make sure your exposure is locked from both shots. So it's basically a matter of starting that first paragraph, get it nailed, move the camera in, and until you nail it, make sure the focus is okay. Now some of you are thinking, well, why can't I just zoom in? Well, the problem is most of our cameras, instead of having what's known as an optical zoom, it's actually a digital zoom, and it's blowing up the picture, and a lot of times that'll introduce more noise. So we recommend doing it with actually physically moving the camera between these 2 positions.
Then you have the same good way. By the way, I'm going to say this now. If you're going to do the chunk method, don't do it paragraph by paragraph or section by section. We just had a client, oh my gosh, she was a very confident woman, and she knew what she was going to talk about, and she could just turn on the camera and talk about it, and everything was going to be great. Well, pretty much didn't happen that way. She'd go and she would lose her train of thought, and she would laugh and laugh and laugh, and then she would pick it up like mid-sentence and continue, which made it just eye-crossingly difficult to edit on our end. So if you're going to lose your train of thought, restart the beginning of that paragraph. You can laugh, just restart at the paragraph so your editor stays your friend.
Oh. And so here's thing number 3.
Okay.
So know that if you have these chunks, if you've shot it in chunks, and you just think, is there a visual that I can use to kind of go over that edit? So instead of just seeing me when the edit happens, I'm seeing a visual, or it could be a graphic or a photograph. So think, what can I cover this edit with?
You're hiding your cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, one more thing. This we just was thinking of today. There is a style of editing which is instead of a jump cut, you're actually putting in a little flash of white, and it's a style. Or you could do a dissolve in between the jump cuts. These are all different styles, but basically, those are the ways to think about covering those cuts.
Okay. Perhaps another thing there's another head thing that will help you figure out.
Oh yeah, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Nerves. Nerves are a problem for everybody, but here's something to just consider. In all truth, it's not about you. It's about the message that you're delivering. And it helps me sometimes to think, oh, I just have to get out of my own way, because what's more important, my nervousness about this or the message that I'm delivering? So just you're the vessel for delivering this message. So if you keep your intention on communicating that, it helps take it off of focusing on your nerves and the way you're feeling.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so now again, we think there could be questions about scripting, organizing your piece, getting in front of the camera. Chat to us if you've got a question. I'd ask you to raise your hands, but Joyle is the only person brave enough to have her camera on. So are there any questions about the scripting portion? If you have done a lot of writing, that's fabulous. It's just a slightly different animal when it's short like this and concise. Okay. We see no one clamoring with questions. But
okay.
Chat whenever you want.
All right. So where are we, Chris?
We're going to talk about now how to edit this puppy.
Oh, great. Okay, post-production. Well, before I go to that, so this is the part where really you can practically fix anything. You can make any problems that you have in video, you can usually fix in editing, and it's an important part of the process, and it's really where the art and finesse comes in. And you'll find out that editing with KineMaster, as you heard earlier, it's really pretty easy and pretty intuitive. But we're gonna talk about it.
We thought it'd be nice to. We made a video on this too that really shows you the screens and the different icons that you're going to use and so forth. But let's start with kind of an idea of the flow of editing before we show the video.
Okay, so you've shot your video. You shot it on Filmic Pro. So the first step is to get it out of Filmic Pro into KineMaster. And you'll see in the video the process that you use to be able to go to the folder and pull it into KineMaster for editing. The next thing is, once you have it in there, we have another chunk method.
Yes, we do. It's really, we should patent this.
Yeah, we're big bucks. So the first pass through is basically, now let me just back up a little bit. If you know that you have one take, and
if you're one of those people,
if it's worked all the way through, just go to that. You don't need to be as worried about the rest of this. But basically, whatever you're editing, bring it into KineMaster. First pass through is really cutting into chunks, and by that I mean you go to the head just before the person starts to speak, and you put an edit or a cut. You'll see there's little scissors, so you make the cut. You go to the end of that take where they stop speaking, you make another cut. So that becomes one chunk. Now you keep playing ahead, see where the next take comes, and right at the top there, you make a cut. making chunks. You're just basically not you're being able to look at it, but this isn't fine tuning. You're just going through and cutting it into chunks. Now the second pass through is getting rid of all the clinkers. So you know that place where you're fighting with the microphone or where
the dog is barking,
the phone's ringing, whatever. We're going to get rid of that. So we're going to get rid of all the clinkers, the things that will not work. So we end up with just the things that do work. The next step, you'll have just the good clips in your story. Now you'll be able to move them around if you need to, or whatever. But if you're sticking to a script, everything should be in order. And so next thing is, how am I going to cover the edits? And so basically, this is the place where you think about your graphics, your CG, your text, B-roll, video, any of those things. So you've gone through, you've covered all your edits. The final steps would be putting a fade to black at the beginning of a video and a fade down to black at the end. And then the next step after that is to actually export it out of KineMaster. And as you'll see, not in this video, but your job then will be to export it to Vimeo and to your own account, and then we'll all be able to see it as a group. But in the video, it says something a little bit different, but I'll revisit that in a second. Okay, so
this is, endeavor if you watch this, absorb as much as you can. We're going to post the actual, not only the whole class online, but we'll have these individual videos online. And we have essentially a check-by-check or a point-by-point tip sheet that we've made. So
here we go. Many times when you're making your simple single-person communication video, you'll need to trim a few seconds off of the beginning of your clip or fade to black at the ending. You'll find that using an editing app on your phone is the fastest way to clean up footage, add some B-roll or a photo or a graphic or two, and then get your video out into the world. Let's focus on the basics of editing on your phone. The first step is to navigate to the Filmic Pro app that we use to shoot your top-notch video. Within Filmic Pro, you access your footage by clicking on the play arrow at the bottom right. This brings up all of your video clips. Click on this checkbox selector, and you can now go through and click on the clips that you want to edit. The green bar indicates that it's selected. Check all that you want to include in your video. The next step is to click on this film roll icon, which will copy everything into a Filmic Pro folder. Now we click out of Filmic Pro and locate our editing app, KineMaster. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what was the best app to use for editing on our phone, and KineMaster was by far the winner. It's a very powerful little app, and I find it far easier to use than most of the other smartphone editing programs. It's good for both iPhone and Android. We launch KineMaster, and that brings us to our opening screen. We want to start a brand new project, so we'll click on the plus sign Movie Slate right here in the middle. For this project, our aspect ratio is 16:9, and then we land on our main editing window. We'll go much further into this program when we start cutting our own one-person communication video, but for now, let's just get all of our video resources into this program. When we click on the Media folder up here on the right, we can now choose to bring in either video or photos. We're bringing in footage, so keep the video selected. Now, a word of patience here. It may take a few seconds, sometimes many seconds, to populate the screen with all the stuff you shot on your phone. Be patient. And now we want to locate the Filmic Pro folder or album. And there it is. We'll select that, and now we see all of our clips. Now, if you're able to tape your single-person video all the way through in one take, that's what you're going to look for in KineMaster. And most of the time, it'll probably be the last take that you shot. You can only bring in one clip at a time, so I'm going to find Dia's main straight-to-camera clip. I happen to remember how long it was, 7 minutes and 43 seconds, which is not unusual for trying to record your 1 minute, one-person video. It takes time and patience. But here it is. I click on it, and it jumps down into our timeline. I hit the play button, and it'll start playing from the top of the clip. The second step is to simply go through your video and weed out all the bad takes. Distill it down to the very best of the best. I strongly suggest that your first pass through is just to cut the ins and the outs. We call them heads and tails of each take. We play until we see that she's about to start, and I pause, then tap on the timeline, which brings up this menu. I choose the scissors to split the clip, and I choose the middle selection, split at playhead. Now that's all I'm doing this first time through, heads and tails. You'll see that it's very easy to move the footage around by touching and moving the clip in the timeline. Now resist the impulse to make all of your edits perfect here at this stage. We just want to cut it into chunks for now.
Superman logos, team logos, or I don't know what else, so I better do that one over again. Let's see.
Another chunk. Now do this all the way through your footage. It's a good opportunity to see what you have.
I love the creating and the designing part. I find inspiration in beautiful.
Now the next pass through, you'll be getting rid of all the clinkers and start to piece it together. Remember that this first chunk had some problems and she started again, so I'm just going to get rid of it by clicking on the old trash can on the left there. I play my next clip and see that it's another clunker.
I don't know what else,
so
I better
to the
do
trash
that one
can.
over again.
Now this next one is a keeper. With a little practice, you'll be able to surgically remove a bad word or phrase and replace it with a few seconds from another take. Sometimes I notice that my cut is a little tight, so I tap on the timeline and use the little yellow handles to touch and extend or cut the head or tail of each clip. A take with those little yellow handles can also be shuffled anywhere you choose by tapping on it and holding it, and then move it to where you wish. Now this kind of editing only works if you know that you'll be able to cover the edit with some kind of footage, B-roll or a picture or a graphic. Otherwise it would appear as a jump cut. Work your way through your video and smooth out the edits as best you can. Remember, undo is your friend. This is called non-destructive editing, because you may be tossing a clip into the trash can, but the original footage still exists safely on your phone. On the next pass, we bring in your titles, your B-roll footage, photos, and graphics. Now, whether you had one piece that works all the way through or you're editing in chunks, you'll want to add a fade up from black at the beginning of your video. Switch on the video fade in and fade out sliders. That'll give you a fade up from black at the beginning and fade down to black at the end.
I love the creating and the...
I next add a title by clicking on the Layer tab on the big wheel. Then I select the big T for titles. I enter my text. And then I tap on the Accept check mark at the top right. I can resize and rotate and place the text wherever I want with those two controls. And when I have it where I want it to fade in and out by tapping on the In Animation tab and tell it that I want it to fade. It works the same for fading out.
I love the creating and the designing part. I find
just like any other footage, I can adjust the clips in or out by tapping and moving the yellow handles.
I love the creating and the designing
now,
part.
knowing that I have some cuts coming up that I need to cover, or else I'll have a jump cut, I need to bring in a few photos to illustrate what she's talking about. I select the Layer tab on the big wheel, go to the top to the icon showing Picture over Footage. I want a photo this time, and I have to wait for many seconds while all of my pictures populate this window. I have a ton of pictures on this phone, and I think that's why it takes so long. I hope your experience will be a little more peppy. Search for the picture you want. It pops into our timeline window, just waiting for us to size and place it correctly. I want it to fill the frame. I also want it to fade in. It's the same process that we used for the opening title. Now, it's not visible here, but the clip of that window is actually below the other elements in the timeline. It'll show up in a second. Ah, there it is. Now, as you can see, it's covering the cut we made of Dia's presentation. If you look above there, there's a plus mark where we made the cut. The photo of the stained glass is now covering that as she continues to speak. Now, this is the basic process for piecing together your video. Use as much as you can of the original one-person presentation, and then when you make a cut, cover it with a graphic, a still, or video B-roll. When your video is all top-notch, our final step is to export it out of KineMaster. I'm choosing to compress it to FHD 1080p, which is basically HD. To share it with us and your fellow students, you'll need to upload it to our classroom streaming channel. Directions should be available in your information packet. If you have any questions, email me at ssealy@denverfilmdigital.com.
Okay, so actually,
Good luck.
there's just one addendum to that at the end. We'll send, when you put your videos up on your Vimeo, then we'll send an invitation and we'll have a group where all the videos can be placed. Now, we want to ask you what questions that you have. And while we ask you, I'm going to tackle this very important subject of clinkers versus clunkers.
Oh, this is a debate at our house.
Yeah, okay, so what I did, so while you're doing your questions, you might put chat up so we can see if there are questions. This is important. We have a lot of discussion, shall we say, about words. A clinker, the first definition for clinker is a brick with a vitrified surface.
Oh, I was worried.
But the second one is something that is unsatisfactory or of poor quality. So clinker is an appropriate word. And so is, it's very important, clunker, which has a first definition of an old rundown vehicle, with a second definition of a failure, a flop, a bust, a dud, or a turkey.
Oh, good.
So
well, thank you for clearing
clinkers or
that up. I'm
clunkers,
so happy.
Which,
Okay, we have some questions here. So
Okay.
Barbara, yeah, I'm going to try to find you over here. Barbara, I'm going to unmute you. You had a question?
Yes. I was noticing that your sync was off on my computer.
Uh-huh.
So your words and your mouth were moving and sounding different. And how do you fix that when you're doing the editing?
It's not an edit. It's not. It's the transmission through Zoom.
It's the transmission.
Yeah.
It's and normally if this was off of Vimeo and you were viewing it, it's dead on. The sync is not a problem. However, there are there are times when you'll be dealing with sync issues, but most of the time it shouldn't be a problem if you're using Filmic Pro and going through KineMaster.
I am curious though, how far was
Okay.
it off? Was it making you absolutely and completely crazy? Like a half second?
Sync always drives me crazy.
Yeah, me too.
It doesn't matter if it's a fraction of a second. I see it and I hear it.
And then,
You know.
and then that's all I can see. So thanks for bringing it
Right.
up. We do
Yeah.
the Zoom thing.
Mhm.
And we can, and if you have problems with it later, we can certainly help you address them there.
Okay. Yeah, I think that with in terms of utilization of the project, we have found that our hospital stakeholders have a problem downloading YouTube through their hospital security.
Oh no.
And so what we need is probably the true link. What'd you say, Ressie? We need the file, the .mov or whatever. So that's something else that I think we need to keep in mind in terms of
And then
utilization of project post-production.
once you have once you have that file, what would you do with it next?
We would send it to people, or we would be opening it on our laptop when we're on site with them.
Right. Okay.
As
Yeah.
opposed to streaming, you don't want to stream it. sometimes files like this will get large enough that you need to use a different delivery service, such as Hightail. Do you think a 1 minute video would go through email? Or they'd need Hightail for that.
Yeah, it's because the size of a video, probably of a minute, is 90 megs or so. So it may not be able to email it. But if you are able to download it to your computer and show it on your computer, then that might be the best way to do it.
And likewise, the extra would be Hightail is one of many free delivery platforms that you can use to send someone a video through email.
I'm curious if you've experienced the same thing with Vimeo.
I don't know that we have not tried the Vimeo.
Well, I know that YouTube is more may have more restrictions in some environments, but try Vimeo and see if it's the same deal.
Right.
Is the best way? I mean, actually, the easiest way for anybody to see this is through a streaming platform.
Right. Right. You see, right now on the state of California's website, they have links to the video. So Tracy and Robin, maybe you could speak to this. But these are the ones that we are directing hospital staff to when we're in site visits, and we can't open it up.
Oh boy.
Right.
Yeah, you have an IT person who can help you, or if they just said this is the way it is?
It varies.
Yeah.
And we don't usually have those hospital IT people there during our site visits. Yeah.
Can you go outside the system? Can you go to personal emails to send things to people, or is that problematic?
I think it's playing.
That we haven't been doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm just thinking down the road. So this is something that we can just tuck away and think about and figure out.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you.
I just wanted to mention it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Joel has a question. And so does, Tennessee. Okay, here's a question from Tennessee. Do you?
I'm sorry. Let me find where I'm at here.
There's Tennessee.
Where's Tennessee? Okay.
Okay. And I should have written down names that I could read.
Tennessee, do you hear us?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
All right. So my question was, at the end of the video that you showed, there was an extended video, or like part of the video that was white that had her logo on it.
Yes.
How did you extend the video to include the logo? Because I had to do this weird workaround where I took a snippet of a black piece, black screen in Word, and added a photo and uploaded it and did a text overlay. But I didn't know if there's a way in KineMaster to extend the video to do the logo at the end.
It's basically you're adding a JPEG photo at the end. You're importing that into the timeline. So on my phone, for instance, I have in my picture folder a JPEG of that logo that she used, of the Dream Mat. So I simply just import it the same way that I import a video into the timeline, and then I'm able to edit that at the end of her video and extend it as long as I want. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like what we pretty much did. Is it I took a picture and I uploaded a picture and then added our text overlay.
Right.
There is no generic, just blank background image that is available, so we just have to upload our own.
Yeah, or if you have your logo or whatever.
With the logo, yeah.
That's where you bring it in.
Is there any way on KineMaster to add just a blank title screen, or if I wanted, how you can insert transition, is there a way to insert a blank? Yes,
you can make a title by, remember that wheel, if you remember seeing it, there was the big wheel came up and there was a T for title.
Text.
Text. So you would just put that at the end of your cut and type in what you want, whatever it is you're going to write, and you'll put that into the timeline, and you should be able to adjust that the same way as any other cut. Email me if you have a problem with it.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Okay.
Which was kind of looks like Joyle's question. Let's go to her next. Unmute.
Unmuting. Hi, Joel.
Hi. So I just had a question in regards to like some of the questions and some of the things that may come up while we're doing the video. If we're not able to get the answers out of our recordings, are we able to reach out to you guys?
Please.
To call you or to email you for questions or whatever?
Email me, and that's probably the best way. We're trying to respond within.
Give you a call back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Leave your message, but definitely let us know. And
okay.
We're here to help you.
Now we're hoping that nobody is so organized that they're shooting and all done and editing next week, because we're taking an actual vacation to Maine.
Yeah.
But we'll still have email and stuff and can help you when you need.
We haven't gotten our equipment yet, and then Amy is out until the 3rd of July, and then I'm out after that. So it's like that week of July 11th is the only time that we're going to probably have to actually start the video shoot. So I'm like, hopefully we'll be able to reach out to you guys if we have any questions at that time.
Absolutely, please do.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are, I'm assuming, lucky in this class, because it's usually just 2 weeks between this lesson and the next one, but because of the 4th and everything and our lives, actually, to be honest, you have 3 weeks to do it. Sounds like you guys have 1 week to do it. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions that you have? Because we have just given you so much material today.
And so we just expect you just to go do it.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
Steve, it's a little harder than that.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I know.
But we might give you, unless anybody has any more questions, we could give you a half an hour back of your lives. And
so I don't see.
Yeah. Okay. Thumbs up from Joyle.
Okay. Well, thank you all for working on this. I know it's not easy.
But it can be done.
It can be done. I just give you words of encouragement. Be patient. There's a lot to learn, and anytime you're learning a brand new app, there's always you keep looking at it and say, I keep pushing the button and it doesn't do it. Well, if you get stuck, go back to the cheat sheet, back up a couple of steps, and try it again.
So I haven't sent the cheat sheet to Sarah McCassin at NewSTEPs yet, but I'm about to. It has stuff on subject matter, on shooting, even a couple more things than we've talked about shooting, pre-production, production, and this. So I don't know, I'm old school, so I like to see it in print. We'll send it to her within the next hour or so that you'll be able to access it.
So unless anybody has something that they're dying, wait, we got a new message here.
Message. Oh. Our California videos are hosted on the state's YouTube site. Okay, so
yeah, so if you just are able to upload to that would be great.
Does that kind of take care? And we're not saying you have to do it on Vimeo. YouTube is a perfectly acceptable place.
Yeah, if you can do that, then that's great. We prefer Vimeo, and although you do have control over YouTube, many of the times when I put something up on YouTube and the video's over, then it automatically jumps to 6 related videos that are not really related to what I'm talking about. So that's the only thing I don't like about it. But I bet you on a California video on their YouTube channel, you would be able to put it up. Does that answer your question, or was there a question there? I just want to let you know. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna hope so. Okay, so happy 4th of July.
Yes.
And we're happy you all could join us today, and you have an extra 25 minutes to go do something that you didn't expect you could do today.
All right. Thank you all very much.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Call us.